The shuttle glided silently through the cold expanse of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant light of a nearby star. Inside, Commander Kale Ryden adjusted the straps of his uniform, his hands trembling slightly despite years of experience in interstellar diplomacy. This mission was unlike any other he had undertaken. He wasn't commanding a battle or negotiating a trade deal. He was representing humanity at the Galactic Council, the gathering of the most powerful civilizations in the known universe. The Council's hall was rumored to be magnificent. Legends spoke of floating platforms, luminous walls, and alien delegates that towered over humans like trees. Kyle had seen glimpses of the Assembly's chambers in hollow recordings, but nothing could prepare him for the reality. The moment the shuttle doors opened, he felt the magnitude of the place. A vast circular chamber stretched endlessly, bathed in soft shifting light. Delegates of all shapes and forms floated or strutted along the platforms, their bodies shimmering with strange textures, some with skin like crystal, others with wings or multiple eyes. Kale's eyes sought out the human delegation's assigned platform. It was modest, a rectangular section of polished metal, deliberately low in height so that the humans would not intimidate others by their presence. He took a deep breath. Humanity had fought for decades to earn this recognition, proving that despite being latecomers to interstellar politics, humans were capable, clever, and resilient. Now, this moment was a test, one that could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. The shuttle doors hissed closed behind him as he approached the platform. His team, a mix of diplomats and engineers, were already there, arranged neatly. Call nodded to them, forcing a calm he did not entirely feel. Among the alien delegates, he noticed the council's chairperson, a towering figure named Vol, whose translucent skin flickered like liquid light. Vol's gaze swept over the assembly, pausing momentarily on the humans before returning to the proceedings. "Humans," Vale intoned. "You have been invited not merely as observers, but as equals. Your actions in the Viridian crisis have earned you this place. Let this gathering begin." A hush fell over the chamber as the delegates took their positions. Each species had its own way of expressing respect and readiness. Some bowed, some hummed in low frequencies, and some changed color to signal attention. Kale noticed that the human delegation, small and understated, drew curious glances, though none were dismissive. Humans were known for their unpredictability, their boldness in dangerous situations, and sometimes their recklessness. The first discussion began with a debate over trade routes in the Andromeda sector. Kale listened intently, noting how the alien delegates spoke in complex, layered ways, often with multiple speakers coordinating simultaneously. Humans could not compete in such rapid-fire exchanges, but Kale had learned to rely on observation. As the debate drew on, Kale found his attention drifting to the next platform over. There, seated at the center, was the queen of a species called the Thrin, tall, elegant, and with an aura of authority that seemed to bend the light around her. Her skin was a deep silver, and her multiple eyes glimmered like polished gemstones. Kale had studied her culture meticulously. The Thrin valued precision, ritual, and hierarchy. A single misstep in interaction could be perceived as disrespect, or worse, a challenge. It was then that the moment came that Kale would never forget. The queen shifted slightly in her seat, moving closer to the edge of the platform. The floating chairs used by the council were designed to adjust to the delegates' bodies automatically, but in her movement, the chair brought her closer to Kale's platform than protocol might have expected. Kale, trying to maintain perfect composure, extended his hand in a gesture of greeting. His palm brushed against the edge of the platform where she sat. A necessary action to stabilize himself, not to invade her space. Yet the queen froze, her gem-like eyes widening ever so slightly. For a heartbeat, Kale panicked, fearing he had violated some unspoken law. Then, the moment passed. The queen's posture remained formal, but a subtle shift in her gaze indicated curiosity rather than anger. Kale realized that this was an opportunity. Humans were often underestimated because they relied on directness and intuition rather than rigid protocol. A small gesture, if timed correctly, could demonstrate confidence without arrogance. The discussions continued, but Kale found himself glancing toward the Thryn Queen more than the debates themselves. Every time he interacted with other delegates, he noticed how her eyes tracked him, following his movements. She spoke rarely, but when she did, her words were deliberate, precise, and commanding. Kale made a mental note. Understanding her patterns could be critical in building alliances. Midway through the proceedings, a crisis erupted. One of the other species, the Ralvian, had proposed a sudden trade embargo, citing alleged violations by another delegate. The chamber erupted into chaos, voices overlapping in a dissonant cacophony. Kale's team looked to him, waiting for guidance. Humans had a reputation for stepping into dangerous situations without hesitation, and Kale realized this was the moment to demonstrate that trait. He raised his hand, signaling for attention, and then spoke in the universal tongue that all delegates could understand. "Esteemed members of the Council," he began, his voice steady. "Before we pass judgment, we must consider all perspectives. Allegations require evidence, not assumptions. Humanity has faced similar crises and learned that fairness and dialogue preserve peace far more than swift action fueled by fear or suspicion." A few delegates turned toward him, curiosity flickering across their expressions. The Queen of Thryn inclined her head slightly, a gesture of approval that Kale noted with careful attention. "Perhaps," Kale continued, "we could establish a temporary fact-finding mission. Each party presents their data, and an impartial review can prevent unnecessary conflict. This approach would save resources, maintain trust, and demonstrate that the Council values reason over haste." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some delegates nodded, others exchanged uncertain glances. The Ralvian delegates' eyes narrowed, but they did not immediately reject the proposal. Kale had created a pause, a space in which diplomacy could take root. As the debate shifted toward his suggestion, Kale noticed a subtle change in the Queen of Thryn's demeanor. Her multiple eyes, which had flickered with caution, now reflected something else. Intrigue. She leaned slightly forward, her attention fully on the human's representative. Kale realized that this simple human instinct, reaching out, speaking directly, acting decisively, had made an impression in a council accustomed to ritual and hesitation. The rest of the session passed in a blur. Kale presented further suggestions, carefully balancing respect for alien customs with the unmistakable confidence that humans carried. By the time the chamber adjourned for the first cycle of discussions, murmurs circulated among delegates about the boldness of the human representative. Back on the human platform, Kale's team exhaled collectively. "Commander," one of the diplomats whispered, "you did it. You actually did it." Kale allowed himself a small smile, though he knew this was only the beginning. The Council was just warming up, and the challenges ahead would test not only his diplomatic skill, but humanity's capacity to navigate the galaxy's complex web of politics. As the delegates dispersed for their first break, Kale noticed the Thryn Queen rise from her seat. She floated effortlessly across the platform, her movements precise and deliberate. She paused a few meters from Kale, observing him with those keen, gem-like eyes. Kale's heart beat faster, not from fear, but from the recognition that humans had been noticed in a way few other species had managed. Then, almost imperceptibly, she inclined her head in acknowledgement. It was not friendship, not yet, but it was recognition. In the Council, recognition was the first step toward influence. Kale understood that if humans could maintain this balance of courage and respect, they could carve a place for themselves in a galaxy where many species believed humans were naive, reckless, or unprepared. The break ended, and the delegates returned to their platforms. Kale's mind buzzed with strategy, possibilities, and the faint thrill of having made a mark. Humans were newcomers in this vast, complex universe, but moments like this reminded him.
And the Council, why humanity was not to be underestimated.
As the session reconvened, Kale adjusted his uniform, squared his shoulders, and prepared to face the challenges ahead. Somewhere across the platform, the Thryn Queen's eyes met his again, and for the first time, Kale felt the subtle weight of potential alliance, of curiosity, and of respect. He did not know what tomorrow would bring. Disputes could escalate, treaties could collapse, and alliances could crumble. But in that moment, at the heart of the council, Kale Ryden understood one thing clearly. Humans had arrived, and they were ready to assert themselves, not through fear, but through courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to act when others hesitated. And in the shadow of the Queen's gaze, he felt the faintest hint of triumph. Humanity had made its first ripple in a universe that often underestimated them. And those ripples could grow into waves that no alien could ignore. The council chamber settled back into a tense rhythm after the break. Kale Ryden could feel the weight of the room like a tangible force pressing against his chest. Every species had returned to their platforms, but the air buzzed with suspicion, curiosity, and silent calculation. Some delegates whispered in their native tones, their conversations unintelligible yet sharp in cadence. Others adjusted their forms or colors as if signaling strategy to allies nearby. Kale's eyes, however, were drawn once again to the Thryn Queen. She had returned to her central position, her posture regal, almost statuesque. Her multiple eyes scanned the chamber, occasionally flicking toward Kale, and each time he felt a mixture of anxiety and exhilaration. Humans had earned attention in their first move, but maintaining that impression would be far more challenging. One misstep could undo every cautious ripple of respect he had created. The next agenda item was far more complex than trade disputes. A signal had been detected in the uncharted nebular expanse, a region of space largely ignored by major civilizations. The energy signature was unfamiliar, suggesting either a new technology, a rogue faction, or a previously unknown species. The council had convened specifically to decide how to investigate without violating territorial rights. Kale's stomach tightened. Humanity had a vested interest in exploration, and he knew that if humans could secure a role in the investigation, it could open doors for alliances, research, and strategic positioning. Yet the other species viewed human eagerness with caution. Too much ambition could be interpreted as reckless arrogance. The Ralvian delegate immediately proposed a cautious approach. "We cannot risk intrusion into unknown space. Any misstep could provoke an unintended war," it said in a harsh staccato tone. Its crystalline appendages shimmered as it emphasized each word, a gesture intended to reinforce authority. The council murmured in agreement, but Kale saw a window of opportunity. Humans were valued for initiative and adaptability, traits many older civilizations had long lost. Carefully, he raised his hand. The chamber, accustomed to structured speaking turns, fell silent. Kal felt every gaze, alien and human, settle on him. "Esteemed delegates," he began, his voice calm and firm, "while caution is important, hesitation alone will not yield understanding. The energy signature may be a threat, or it may be a discovery that benefits all species. Humanity suggests a joint investigation team, composed of representatives from multiple civilizations, to observe and report findings without interference." A ripple of reaction moved through the chamber. Some delegates leaned forward, interested. Others' eyes narrowed in skepticism. Kale's words were precise, careful to avoid implying superiority, yet confident enough to make humans seem capable. The Thryn Queen's eyes glimmered as she regarded him. Kale noticed that she was not merely observing, she was calculating. A small, deliberate nod of her head indicated approval, an extraordinary gesture from a species known for rigidity and meticulous evaluation. He realized that his reputation within the council was beginning to solidify, even if quietly. A debate ensued over the structure of the investigation. Some species wanted strict control, others demanded a delay to study the region remotely. Kale listened carefully, taking mental notes of the alliances forming around him. He recognized the subtle dynamics. Which species respected human reasoning? which feared human unpredictability and which were willing to test humans in the field. The Thryn Queen finally spoke, her voice measured and low, carried across the chamber.
Humans propose an initiative that is bold yet reasonable. They must participate, but only under supervision.
Their adaptability may prove valuable, but their impulse must be restrained. That statement was both praise and warning. The Queen's acknowledgement of human potential was a triumph, but the cautionary note reminded him that the galaxy did not give trust lightly. He would have to prove humanity's worth continuously. The Council agreed to form the joint investigation team, and Kale found himself assigned as the human lead. He would travel alongside delegates from 3 other species, including the enigmatic Zealan, a race of semi-transparent entities known for logic and precision. It was an honor and a test. As the session concluded, Kale returned to the human platform. His team crowded around him, faces bright with excitement and nervous energy. "Commander," one diplomat said, "this is unprecedented. We have a real chance to make an impact."
Kale nodded, though he did not allow himself to celebrate just yet.
The real test was about to begin. Traveling into uncharted space, working with species humans barely understood, and confronting the unknown. The shuttle assigned to the investigation team waited outside the council chamber, a sleek vessel equipped for deep space reconnaissance. Kale boarded first, ensuring all human protocols and safety measures were addressed. Soon, delegates from the Thryn, Julan, and another species called the Meraki arrived. Each had their own expectations, technology, and culture. Coordination would be delicate. The journey began with silence, punctuated by the low hum of the shuttle's engines. Kale took the opportunity to study his companions. The Thryn Queen, who had agreed to participate personally, remained poised, her multiple eyes observing the instruments with calculated detachment. The Xylan delegate moved like liquid through the corridors, adjusting interfaces with efficiency. The Meraki, a squat, spiny species, grumbled constantly, but seemed eager to prove themselves. Call introduced basic human protocols and encouraged open communication. Slowly, the initial tension began to ease. Small victories, a shared observation, a correctly interpreted reading, a brief humorous exchange, built fragile trust. Humans had the advantage of adaptability, and Kale ensured it became the team's strength. After days of travel, they reached the edge of the nebular expanse. The energy signature appeared on their sensors, pulsing irregularly. It was enormous, a structure suspended in space that defied immediate categorization. Its surface shimmered with patterns that seemed almost alive, moving in ways that suggested intelligence or advanced technology. Kale and the team paused. None spoke at first. All eyes were fixed on the anomaly. Then, the Thryn Queen floated closer, her gaze sweeping over the readings. She turned to Kale, her voice calm but tinged with caution.
"This is unlike anything cataloged in Council records. Humanity, your approach will determine our understanding and our safety."
Kale swallowed hard. He had trained for situations like this, yet nothing could prepare a person for the awe of confronting something entirely unknown. He considered their options: immediate investigation, remote scanning, or cautious observation. Each carried risks. Acting too fast could provoke a defensive response. Acting too slow could lose the chance to gather crucial data. Drawing on human instincts, Kale suggested a hybrid approach. We deploy unmanned probes first to gather structural and energy data. Simultaneously, we maintain a safe perimeter. Observation and analysis first, action second. This minimizes risk but maximizes understanding.
The other delegates exchanged glances.
Some were skeptical, but the Thryn Queen inclined her head once more. Kale noted that her approval was almost imperceptible, yet it was enough to sway the others. The probes launched, small devices that streamed real-time data back to the shuttle. Hours passed as the team monitored the anomaly. Patterns in the energy flows emerged, geometric shapes, rhythmic pulses, and signals that seemed to suggest communication. Kale realized that this was not merely a structure, it was a vessel, possibly sentient, or at least designed with intelligence in mind. Suddenly, one probe registered a localized surge of energy. Alarms beeped as readings spiked beyond predicted limits. The Muraki delegate hissed in alarm, backing away from the controls. The Xylan recalibrated their instruments rapidly, while the Thryn Queen's eyes flickered, assessing. KL acted instinctively.
Everyone, steady!
Maintain current positions. Do not react impulsively. He reached out, pressing a sequence of commands to stabilize the probe's trajectory and prevent damage. The device hovered, suspended by magnetic fields, while data continued to stream. The anomaly pulsed again. More pronounced this time. Lights shimmered along its surface, forming patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Kale realized the team was witnessing communication, a signal designed to be recognized, perhaps even to invite contact. Human intuition may be required, the Thryn Queen said softly, a rare concession. You have the ability to perceive patterns that logic alone might miss. Kale felt a surge of determination. Humans had a reputation for improvisation and perception. This moment, he realized, was exactly why. He studied the signals, mimicking their pulses with the shuttle's communication arrays, testing responses. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The anomaly reacted differently to certain sequences, confirming it was responding intentionally. The team watched, astonished. For the first time, humans were not merely participants. They were mediators between civilizations, capable of initiating first contact in ways others could not. As the sun of a distant star reflected off the anomaly's surface, Hale felt the weight of history pressing upon him. Humanity's boldness, its ability to act where others hesitated, had not only earned recognition at the Council, it was proving itself in the vast unknown, in a region no other species had dared to explore. And somewhere, deep within the pulsing patterns of the anomaly, it seemed to respond not with hostility, but with curiosity. Humanity had taken the first step into a new chapter of galactic understanding, and Kale knew that the implications would ripple across civilizations, forever changing how humans were perceived. The anomaly's surface continued to shimmer, as if alive, pulsing with patterns that both fascinated and unnerved the team. Tal Ryden studied the data streaming from the probes, noting subtle variations in the energy signatures. They were not random. There was rhythm, intent, and a clear responsiveness to the team's communications. "Commander," the Thryn Queen said, her voice calm but carrying weight, "it appears this entity, or structure, responds to sequences of energy patterns. Your human approach may be key to establishing contact." Kale nodded, aware that he was being observed closely. Humans were often underestimated because they relied on instinct, improvisation, and adaptability, traits many older civilizations considered reckless. But here in the void of uncharted space, those very traits gave him an edge. He instructed the team to continue transmitting structured pulses through the shuttle's arrays.
At first, there was no change beyond the initial response.
Then, a subtle shift occurred. A portion of the anomaly's surface rotated slightly, reflecting light in geometric sequences. The signal patterns were becoming more complex, almost as if it was attempting to mirror the humans' efforts. "This is incredible," the Zulan delegate murmured, their translucent body flickering. "It is not merely reactive, it is learning." Kale felt a surge of excitement. Learning meant intelligence, and intelligence meant potential for dialogue. But it also meant risk. Any misstep could provoke a defensive reaction, and no one knew the anomaly's true capabilities. He took a deep breath, then adjusted the pulse sequences, testing responses in a careful, deliberate manner. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. Then, suddenly, a section of the anomaly's surface parted, revealing a hollow interior. A faint golden light emanated from within, and the shuttle's instruments detected a sudden stabilization of the energy readings. The anomaly was no longer chaotic. It was inviting observation. The Thryn Queen floated closer, her silver eyes reflecting curiosity. "It is allowing access," she said softly. "This is rare. Proceed with caution." Kale considered the options. Boarding the anomaly could provide unprecedented data, but it carried danger. The anomaly's interior was unknown. There could be traps, hostile energy fields, or other hazards. Yet remaining outside meant limited understanding, and opportunities like this did not come twice. After a brief consultation with the other delegates, Kale made a decision.
We will send a small, unmanned reconnaissance vessel first.
If it returns safely, we will consider a controlled entry. No one goes in without confirmation that it is safe.
The plan was executed with precision. A sleek drone detached from the shuttle, gliding toward the anomaly's entrance. All eyes followed its progress, instruments tracking every detail. The interior was vast, lined with structures that resembled crystalline conduits glowing softly. Streams of energy flowed along them, converging toward a central chamber. Suddenly, the drone transmitted an unexpected signal. The walls were shifting, reconfiguring themselves in response to its presence. The energy flowed differently, forming patterns that almost resembled symbols. Kale leaned forward, astonished. It was as if the anomaly was trying to communicate using a language based on light and motion. "This is remarkable," he said aloud. "Whoa. It is teaching itself to communicate. We may be witnessing a form of first contact unlike anything recorded in Council history." The Thryn Queen inclined her head slightly.
Your instincts were correct. Humans perceive patterns that other species often overlook. We will proceed carefully, but your approach will guide our interactions.
Kale felt a quiet thrill.
Humans had always relied on adaptability, intuition, and curiosity, traits that other species often dismissed as impulsive. Yet here, those very traits were bridging a gap that no algorithm or centuries of logic could have solved. Over the next several hours, the team worked in a coordinated rhythm. They refined the sequences of pulses, observing the anomaly's responses. Slowly, the interior structures shifted to form an open pathway, guiding the drone deeper into the central chamber. The energy flows stabilized, creating a calm, almost welcoming environment.
"This is unprecedented," the Jalan delegate said. "It is effectively inviting us in. There is no precedent for this level of interactive intelligence in a non-biological entity." Kale's mind raced. The anomaly was proving that intelligence could take forms far beyond biological life, and humans, through courage and observation, were the first to understand it. He realized that this mission was no longer simply about exploration. It was about establishing trust with something entirely alien. The Meraki delegate grumbled, pacing in agitation.
We do not know what lies ahead.
This could be a trap. Why should we risk our species on human instinct?
Kale turned to him calmly. Because caution alone will never advance understanding.
Intelligence often requires action. And humans have survived, thrived, and innovated because we act when others hesitate.
That is our strength.
The Meraki looked unconvinced, but the Thryn Queen's subtle nod of approval reinforced Kale's authority. For the first time, the delegation deferred to human judgment in this critical moment. Finally, Kale authorized a controlled entry. The shuttle extended its docking clamps, securing a small observation pod that could detach and maneuver within the anomaly. Kale himself would not enter yet. The first mission needed to prioritize safety and data collection. The pod detached, sliding smoothly into the interior pathway revealed by the anomaly. The team monitored its progress closely. Inside, the walls shifted again, creating chambers filled with crystalline structures that refracted light in vibrant patterns. The energy flows now resembled a form of music, rhythmic and purposeful. Kale's pulse quickened as he realized that the anomaly was responding not just to observation, but to the team's intention and care. Hours passed with meticulous observation. Every adjustment, every pulse sent from the shuttle, prompted the anomaly to respond. It was almost as if it was testing the delegation's patience, curiosity, and intelligence. Kale felt a deep sense of connection, not a bond of friendship, but a mutual recognition of competence and understanding. Then, as the team debated the next step, a new anomaly occurred. A section of the crystalline structure detached and floated toward the pod. It rotated, adjusting its form, and a soft hum filled the chamber. Sensors detected a change in energy signatures that suggested not hostility, but a form of acknowledgement. Kale's heart raced. This was more than data. This was the first gesture of recognition, an acceptance of interaction.
"It is communicating," he said, voice barely above a whisper.
It recognizes that we are here with respect, not threat.
The Thryn Queen's eyes glimmered with admiration. Humans are capable of reading subtleties that other species often miss.
"This is your moment of strength. Lead wisely, Commander."
Kale nodded, understanding the responsibility. Humans have been noticed not just for their boldness, but for their ability to adapt, observe, and act with care. This recognition, once established, could open doors for humanity across the galaxy. As the observation pod continued to explore, the anomaly's energy patterns began forming intricate sequences resembling maps, symbols, and pathways. Kale realized these might indicate deeper levels of the structure, areas that held either knowledge or technology, or perhaps both. Suddenly, a surge of energy rippled outward from the central chamber. Sensors warned of instability, and the pod rocked slightly. Kale remained calm, guiding the team in stabilizing the pod's systems. The anomaly responded almost immediately, forming new structures that countered the turbulence. It was as if it understood their intentions, adjusting to ensure safety.
"This is extraordinary," the Gilan delegate said.
We are witnessing intelligence that can adapt and respond dynamically. Humans are essential to this interaction.
Kale's pulse quickened.
The anomaly was not only sentient in some sense, but it was capable of learning, adapting, and recognizing intent. It responded to initiative, to careful observation, and to the human way of approaching the unknown with courage and ingenuity. Hours turned into an extended period of exploration. The anomaly continued to reveal secrets, pathways, and patterns. Kale instructed careful data collection, ensuring the team documented every response, every subtle shift, every sign of intelligence. The more they observed, the clearer it became. Humans had unlocked a dialogue that no other species had managed. Finally, as the first cycle of exploration drew to a close, the observation pod returned to the shuttle. Sensors indicated full stability, and the anomaly's energy flows had settled into a calm, almost serene pattern. Kale exhaled deeply, feeling both relief and exhilaration. The Thryn Queen floated close, her voice carrying a rare note of approval.
Human instinct has guided this team successfully. You have demonstrated courage, insight, and restraint.
These qualities will shape the Council's perception of your species more than any words could. Kale smiled faintly, aware of the significance. Humanity had not only survived this first encounter, but had established a foundation of respect and potential cooperation. It was a moment that could echo across civilizations, a testament to what humans could achieve when they acted with boldness, intelligence, and care. As the team prepared to rest and analyze the day's data, Kale allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. Humans had always relied on curiosity and courage to face the unknown. Here, in the heart of uncharted space, those qualities had turned into something extraordinary. Recognition, trust, and the possibility of first contact with an entirely alien intelligence. He glanced at the Thryn Queen, who returned his gaze with a subtle nod. It was not friendship, yet, but it was acknowledgement. And in the vast, complex galaxy, acknowledgement was the first step toward influence, alliance, and mutual understanding. Kale realized then that this mission was more than exploration. It was a test of humanity's ability to act decisively, to observe carefully, and to communicate across boundaries that few others could bridge. And in that realization, he felt the quiet thrill of triumph. Humanity had taken its first meaningful step into the wider galaxy, and the ripple of their courage was only beginning to spread. The anomaly had settled into an almost serene rhythm, its energy flows reflecting calm, as if acknowledging the humans' careful approach. Kale Ryden, however, knew that calm could be deceptive. Any entity, especially one as unfamiliar and powerful as this, could shift from curiosity to unpredictability in an instant. The team had to remain vigilant, and Kale intended to lead them with steady focus. The observation pod had returned, and the shuttle now held detailed scans, energy readings, and structural maps. Every delegate leaned over the displays, their alien forms casting strange reflections in the cabin's dim lighting. The Thryn Queen hovered silently, her silver skin glowing faintly in the shuttle's illumination, her multiple eyes tracking every detail. "Commander," she said finally, her voice calm, "we have sufficient data to attempt a direct exploration, but you must decide the team composition. Human presence will be noted, and it is your responsibility to ensure safety and effectiveness." Kale considered carefully. He had learned that every species in the Council had strengths and weaknesses. The Xylan were precise, analytical, and excellent with calculations, but lacked intuition. The Meraki were physically strong and resilient, yet prone to rashness. Humans were versatile, adaptive, and capable of improvisation. Selecting a team that balanced these traits would be essential. "I will lead a small exploration team," Kyle said, "composed of myself, one Xylan, one Meraki, and a human engineer. The others will remain on the shuttle to provide support, analyze data, and maintain communications. This is not a test of courage. It is a test of judgment and coordination." The Thryn Queen inclined her head slightly, a gesture Kale had learned to interpret as rare approval. "Proceed with prudence. Observe, adapt, and respect the anomaly's intelligence. Any aggression will provoke a response you may not anticipate." The team prepared the exploration pod, a reinforced maneuverable craft capable of navigating the anomaly's shifting interior. Kale checked every system personally, ensuring life support, propulsion, and shields were fully operational. The human engineer, Lena Korv, double-checked the data link, her hands moving efficiently over the controls. As the pod detached from the shuttle, Kale felt a familiar surge of anticipation. They entered the anomaly slowly, guided by the patterns observed in the earlier drone missions. The crystalline walls reflected light in mesmerizing sequences, almost musical in rhythm. Energy streams flowed along defined paths, responding subtly to the pod's presence. At first, the anomaly seemed welcoming. Pathways opened ahead, chambers arranged to accommodate the pod, and energy flows maintained stability. The team moved cautiously, documenting everything. Kale marveled at how the anomaly's intelligence seemed to anticipate their movements without controlling them, a delicate balance between guidance and freedom. Hours passed without incident. The team discovered structures that resembled alien machinery, yet their function was unclear. Some chambers had conduits of pure energy flowing like rivers, while others contained crystal formations that refracted data in complex patterns. It was unlike anything Kale had ever encountered, and the thrill of discovery was immense. Then, suddenly, the anomaly shifted. A corridor that had been open moments before now closed, walls folding seamlessly together. The pod's sensors registered an abrupt change in energy patterns, strong, irregular pulses that suggested an active response. "Stay calm," Kale instructed. "It's testing us again." Observe and adapt. The Xylan delegate adjusted their instruments rapidly. "Energy flow is altering in response to our movements. The pathways are dynamic, reconfiguring based on perceived intent." Kale nodded. "Exactly. Move slowly. Maintain control, and let the anomaly respond. Do not force it. Despite careful maneuvering, a surge of energy shot across the pod, momentarily destabilizing it. The Meraki delegate growled, gripping the controls tightly.
This is dangerous! We should retreat! Kale raised his hand. Retreat is an option, but first we need understanding. Panic will provoke the anomaly.
Observe patterns, respond with precision, and proceed cautiously. They moved forward, the pod following a path that seemed to emerge as they navigated. Energy conduits pulsed in sequences that suggested a form of guidance. Kale began to recognize patterns resembling previous sequences of communication. The anomaly was responding to their calm, measured approach. Then they reached the central chamber, a vast space filled with floating crystal structures that glowed with golden light. The energy flows converged here in a way that suggested intelligence of the highest order. Kale felt the weight of the moment. This was the heart of the anomaly, the source of its awareness.
The pod hovered,
Sensors mapping every surface. Suddenly, one of the crystals detached and floated toward them. It rotated slowly, energy flowing along its edges in patterns that resembled symbols. Lena adjusted the data feed, trying to interpret the sequence.
"It's deliberate,"
she said, excitement and awe mingling in her voice.
"It's attempting to communicate."
Not through language, but through structure and energy. Kale's pulse quickened. Then we respond carefully. Mirror its patterns, maintain rhythm, and observe its reaction. The anomaly responded almost immediately, opening additional pathways and emitting sequences that appeared to mimic their actions. Kale realized that this was more than observation. It was dialogue, a silent conversation between human intuition and alien intelligence. Hours passed as the team interacted with the anomaly. They discovered new chambers, energy conduits that functioned as information streams, and formations that suggested logic beyond anything they had seen in biological or mechanical life. The anomaly was alive in ways humans could barely comprehend. Suddenly, a pulse of energy surged violently, knocking the pod off balance. The Meraki delegate grunted, struggling with the controls, while the Xylan recalibrated shielding. Kale took command, issuing calm, precise instructions to stabilize the pod. The anomaly seemed to pause after a moment, as if acknowledging their skill.
"This is remarkable," the Thrin Queen said over the comms. "The anomaly reacts to competence, not authority."
It recognizes understanding, not dominance. Kale felt a swell of pride. Humans had always relied on adaptability and intuition. Here, those traits were proving essential to survival and interaction. The anomaly's recognition was a subtle but profound acknowledgement of humanity's potential.
As they navigated deeper, the anomaly presented a new challenge, a chamber filled with rapidly shifting crystalline structures, pulsating with intense energy.
Sensors warned that prolonged exposure could overload the pod's systems. Retreat was an option, but Kale saw a pattern. A safe path through the chaos, if they moved precisely and with care. "Follow my lead," he instructed. "Mirror the energy flows, maintain rhythm, and trust your instincts." One by one, the pod maneuvered through the shifting chamber. The Meraki delegate moved cautiously, impressed by Kale's steady guidance. The Xylan monitored energy levels with meticulous attention. Lena adjusted the propulsion systems in harmony with Kale's instructions. They reached the other side unscathed. The anomaly's response was immediate. Energy flows stabilized, pathways opened, and the chamber ahead revealed a complex formation resembling a library of crystalline structures. Data streams flowed like rivers, transmitting knowledge in ways the team could barely interpret. Kale felt a surge of exhilaration. Humans had not only survived the anomaly's test, they had earned access to its deepest secrets. This was unprecedented. Other species might have tried to force control or retreat, but human intuition and adaptability had bridged the gap. The Thrin Queen's voice carried calm admiration.
Your leadership has ensured the team's success.
Humans are proving capable of understanding that which other species cannot. Your courage, insight, and adaptability are the traits we underestimated." Kale allowed himself a brief smile, though he knew the mission was far from complete. The anomaly had revealed secrets, but understanding and interpretation would take time. Still, humanity's first direct interaction with an intelligence so alien had succeeded. As the pod retreated to the shuttle, Kale reflected on the journey. Humans had demonstrated the qualities that had earned them recognition at the Council: courage in the face of uncertainty, adaptability in unpredictable situations, and the ability to act decisively while maintaining respect for the unknown. Back on the shuttle, the team reviewed the data. The crystalline structures contained information on physics, energy manipulation, and patterns that suggested methods of communication and construction beyond any known technology. Kale realized the potential. This anomaly could advance understanding for all civilizations, but only if humanity could navigate these discoveries responsibly. The Thryn Queen observed silently, her gaze focused on Kale. "You have proven that humans are not reckless, but capable of measured boldness. This will influence the Council's perception of your species for generations." Kale nodded. Recognition from the Thryn Queen was significant. Her acknowledgement meant that humanity had moved from curiosity to credibility in the eyes of one of the most influential species in the galaxy. Yet Kale remained cautious. They had survived this challenge, but the anomaly was vast, intelligent, and full of unknown variables. The team would need to continue observing, learning, and adapting. Each interaction was a delicate balance between initiative and restraint. As the shuttle moved to a safe orbit outside the anomaly, Kale allowed himself a moment of reflection. Humanity had taken bold steps into the unknown and proven that instinct, courage, and adaptability were not weaknesses. They were strengths. The ripple of their success extended beyond the anomaly. Reports of this achievement would reach the Council, altering perceptions, forging alliances, and demonstrating that humans could act decisively when others hesitated. Kale understood that this was not merely exploration, it was proof of humanity's place among the stars. The Thryn Queen's subtle nod of approval remained with him, a silent reminder that recognition was earned, not given. Humanity had taken one monumental step into a universe of complexity, and the journey was only beginning. Kale looked out at the glowing anomaly, understanding that the lessons learned here would shape not only this mission, but the future of human exploration, diplomacy, and influence. Courage, observation, and adaptability had proven themselves. And in the vastness of space, humanity's boldness had left an unmistakable mark. The anomaly glowed softly against the dark backdrop of space, a silent, living presence that had already revealed more than any human or alien had ever encountered. Kale Ryden stood on the shuttle's observation deck, eyes fixed on the shifting crystalline formations below. The energy flows pulsed rhythmically, as if breathing, responding to the presence of life. Humans had survived the initial tests, navigated complex challenges, and earned a degree of recognition, but the ultimate question remained: could they truly communicate, and could they gain the anomaly's trust? The Thryn Queen hovered nearby, her multiple eyes reflecting the anomaly's golden light. She had been quiet for much of the mission. Observing Kale and his team, now she spoke, her voice calm yet carrying authority. "You have proven humans can adapt, understand, and lead in ways other species cannot. But the anomaly's intelligence is vast. Your next actions will determine if humanity can truly participate as equals in this first contact." Kale nodded. He had been preparing for this moment. Every instinct, every lesson in diplomacy, every moment of observation inside the anomaly had built toward it. "We proceed carefully," he said, "with patience, observation, and deliberate action. We must let the anomaly understand our intentions without forcing them." The team entered the anomaly once again, this time with a more structured plan. They had analyzed data from the previous missions, identified energy patterns, and recognized certain pathways that were safer and more predictable. The shuttle's small exploration pod glided into the anomaly, surrounded by walls of shifting crystal that reflected their instruments and pulses in dazzling patterns. The anomaly responded immediately, shifting its internal structure in recognition. The floating crystalline pathways opened toward the central chamber, as if guiding them. Kale felt the familiar surge of exhilaration. The anomaly had acknowledged their progress and was allowing deeper exploration.
"Observe everything," he instructed. "Every pulse, every pattern could be a message.
Respond deliberately, but do not force interaction. This is a dialogue, not a conquest." The team moved through the interior, carefully tracing energy flows. Crystalline structures hummed softly, their surfaces reflecting the pod's lights in complex sequences. Lena adjusted the sensors to match the energy pulses, creating patterns that mirrored the anomaly's rhythms. Slowly, the anomaly responded with shifts that seemed deliberate, openings, light flows, and changes in geometry. Hours passed as they explored, mapping the anomaly's internal chambers. Then, at last, they reached what Kale recognized as the core, a vast chamber filled with enormous crystalline pillars converging toward a central node. Energy flowed through the pillars in intricate patterns, forming luminous sequences that resembled a language of light. "This is it," Kale whispered.
"The heart of the anomaly." The Thryn Queen's eyes flickered in fascination. "Its intelligence is expressed here, in patterns and energy.
Humans have interpreted this far better than any other species could have. Proceed carefully." Kale took a deep breath. "We will attempt direct communication using structured energy pulses based on the patterns we've observed. It's the culmination of every observation, every adaptation." The team initiated the sequence. Pulses of energy flowed outward, mirrored by the anomaly. The crystalline structures shifted, responding to the rhythm, echoing patterns and forming new sequences. Kale watched intently as the lights changed, subtly, in a way that suggested comprehension. Minutes passed, each moment heavy with anticipation. Then, the anomaly reacted in a profound way. The central node emitted a sustained pulse, filling the chamber with light and a harmonic resonance that reverberated through the pod. The walls seemed to move in synchronization, guiding the pod toward the center. Kale felt a surge of awe. This was not merely recognition. It was acknowledgement. The anomaly had understood the humans' intentions and had invited them closer. "This is unprecedented," the Xylan delegate said, awe clear in their voice. "No recorded intelligence, biological or mechanical, has ever responded in this way. Humanity is the first species to establish meaningful communication." Kale allowed himself a small smile. Humans had relied on observation, courage, and adaptability. Their ability to act decisively, to perceive patterns, and to respect the unknown had bridged a gap that no other species could navigate. The Meraki delegate, previously skeptical and cautious, nodded slowly. "I underestimated humans. They see patterns and act without panic. Perhaps we have much to learn." The team continued their dialogue, each pulse of energy carefully mirrored, analyzed, and responded to. Slowly, the anomaly began to reveal information, blueprints of energy flows, methods of construction, and insights into physics that no council had yet recorded. It was as if the anomaly had been waiting for someone capable of understanding its complexity, and humanity had answered the call. Hours turned into a day of meticulous interaction. Every new chamber, every shift in the crystalline pathways, offered insights into the anomaly's structure and intelligence. Kale realized the importance. Humans were not merely observing. They were active participants in this first contact, demonstrating that courage, intellect, and adaptability could bridge the gulf between species and forms of intelligence. Finally, as the session drew to a close, the anomaly emitted a final pulse, a sustained light that filled the chamber, washing over the pod and the team. It was a gesture of acknowledgement, understanding, and acceptance. Humanity had earned its place in this dialogue. The Thryn Queen's multiple eyes glimmered with respect. You have succeeded where others might have failed. Humans have not only survived the anomaly's challenges, but have established the first true contact. Your species demonstrates the qualities we value: courage, observation, insight, and adaptability. Kale felt a profound sense of achievement. Recognition from the Thryn Queen was extraordinary, but the acknowledgement from the anomaly itself was transformative. Humanity had proven its worth not through force, wealth, or history, but through character and action. As the pod returned to the shuttle, the team reviewed the data. The anomaly had shared knowledge, patterns, and insights that could advance technology, diplomacy, and understanding for all civilizations. Humanity's careful, deliberate approach had turned potential danger into opportunity, earning trust in a universe that often undervalued their capabilities. Back on the observation deck, KL looked at the anomaly one last time. It pulsed softly, as if breathing, alive with intelligence and awareness. He realized that humans had established more than contact. They had built a bridge between vastly different forms of intelligence, demonstrating that courage, observation, and adaptability were qualities to be respected across the galaxy. The Thryn Queen approached Kale. Your species has changed the Council's perception. Your actions here will resonate across civilizations. Humans are no longer newcomers. They are capable, intelligent, and worthy of trust. Kale nodded humbly. Thank you. But this is only the beginning. Understanding, respect, and trust must be maintained. Humanity will continue to act responsibly. The Queen's subtle nod was the final acknowledgement. In that moment, Kale understood the significance. Humanity had earned a reputation not through dominance, but through competence, courage, and the willingness to engage where others feared to tread. As the shuttle prepared to leave the anomaly's orbit, Kale addressed his team. Today we proved something extraordinary. Humans can face the unknown, learn from it, and communicate with intelligence far beyond our own.
This is only the beginning. The galaxy now knows that humans are not to be underestimated.
The team smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. Each member had played a role in this achievement, but Kale knew that it was human adaptability, insight, and courage that had made the difference. Every species in the Council would take note, and humanity's position among the stars would never be the same. Outside the shuttle, the anomaly pulsed once more, as if waving farewell. It was not merely a structure, but a living testament to what humans could accomplish when they acted with intelligence, care, and boldness. Kale understood that this encounter would be recorded in history, not only as humanity's first contact with a new form of intelligence, but as proof that humans could rise to any challenge in the universe. As the shuttle accelerated away, Kale allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. Every challenge, every risk, and every instinct had led to this success. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, demonstrating that courage and intellect could earn recognition even in the most alien and complex situations. The Thryn Queen's voice echoed one last time through the comms. Humanity has proven itself. Let the Council bear witness to your achievements, Commander. You have opened a path not just to knowledge, but to respect. Kale looked out at the anomaly shrinking into the distance. He felt pride, not just for himself, but for all of humanity. They had faced the unknown, adapted, and emerged recognized and respected. The galaxy had changed its view of humans forever. And in the vastness of space, Kale realized something essential. Courage, observation, and adaptability were not merely survival traits, they were the essence of humanity's power. With these qualities, humans could face any challenge, communicate with any intelligence, and leave their mark on the universe in ways no one had imagined. As the shuttle sailed back toward Council space, Kale allowed himself a small, confident smile. The future was uncertain, the galaxy vast, and the challenges endless. But humanity had proven one undeniable truth. When humans acted with courage, insight, and adaptability, there was no force in the universe they could not face. And with that knowledge, Kale Ryden prepared to return to the Galactic Council, ready to report their success, strengthen alliances, and ensure that humanity's reputation as capable, courageous, and adaptable would endure. The universe had recognized them, and it would never forget.